Good morning, everyone.
How are you?
Good morning, everyone. I am Deidre Gifford, and I am the Acting Commissioner for one more day of the Connecticut Department of Public Health and the Commissioner of the Department of Social Services. Delighted to act as your MC this morning. We are all here to talk about Connecticut's welcome to the first 310 Afghan evacuees. You have before you a number of people who are a part of the Governor's Emergency Afghan Evacuee Task Force, and we have already begun something happened with the sound. We have already begun the work of preparing to welcome these individuals to our state. We've done this before. Connecticut has muscle memory and collaborative relationships and refugee resettlement agencies and state agencies and many, many community partners and advocates who have done this type of work before. So we are prepared and will continue the work of preparing to welcome these individuals to our state when they begin to arrive over the next few weeks. At the Department of Social Services, we function as the agency that works with our federal partners at Health and Human Services to distribute the funds to our refugee resettlement agencies and assist in whatever way we can. The Department of Public Health, we have a health coordinator for refugees and asylees who will be working with our resettlement agencies to make sure that the individuals who arrive have the appropriate health care available to them. So with that, I'd like to first introduce our wonderful Commissioner of the Department of Children and Families, Vanessa Durantis.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I stand before you because we are just very excited to be a part of an administration that welcomes all families. And the Connecticut Department of Children and Families not only has the child protection mandate, but also the prevention and children's behavioral health mandate. We, together with our state agency partners that you see here, across all three branches of government, inside and outside, public and private, work together and form a network of support for families. We are here, we stand with services that are trauma-informed, that are flexible, and they will meet the needs of families that come into our state. We have a governor that supports all families, and we are just very excited to make sure that any of the services that are needed are culturally responsive, linguistically responsive, and meet the not only daily needs, but needs that we may not even know exist. We are very flexible and very nimble, and what the last 18 to 24 months have shown us, that we are a state that will build back in terms of our recovery efforts from COVID, but also be able to pivot and change according to the needs of the families here in our state. We like to encourage all of you to recognize that we have assessments that will meet the needs of children, families, and seniors, and we stand ready to work with our sister state agencies to be able to do that.
Thank you. And our cities and towns in Connecticut will obviously be important partners in this resettlement effort. So it's my pleasure to welcome Mayor Luke Bronin of Hartford.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. Governor, thank you. 6 days ago, we commemorated the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And one of the things that we heard people on both sides of the aisle talk about was that spirit of unity that prevailed in the wake of 9/11. There may not be all that many issues right now that aren't the subject of political division, but this should be an issue on which every American is united. We owe a moral obligation to bring to safety and to welcome and to support the Afghan men and women and families who worked and served side by our men and women in uniform and by our diplomats and our allies. We owe a moral obligation. This is not Republican and Democrat. This is about what it means to be American. Is that we stand by those who stand by us. And while this is the right thing to do, it's also really important that we recognize that we will be better for their being here. Every single community, the city of Hartford, and every community around Connecticut, and every community in the country will be better and stronger because these families make their home here. In this city, we've got a proud tradition, going back generation after generation, of welcoming refugees. And generation after generation, we have been enriched by that. The hundreds of Bosnian refugees who made Hartford their home in the 90s, the hundreds of Karen who made Hartford their home in more recent years. We're better for it. And as proud as we are of that legacy, let's also recognize that there is something unique about our relationship to the thousands of Afghans who now are waiting in third countries in our bases because they have been our allies through decades of war. Their lives are at risk, their families' lives are at risk. We need to come together. And what you see here today, under the leadership of Governor Lamont and the partnership of legislators from across the state of both parties and veterans who are working day in and day out, like Alec puts this, to bring people to safety. And clergy who are gathering together to bring the resources together. And the refugee resettlement agencies who are so vital to this work. And the apartment owners who are stepping up, and the employers who are stepping up, and the educators who are ready to welcome kids. Connecticut stands united. And I hope that every state in the country, Governor, will take a model from our unity here and from your leadership. Mayors are. And the U.S. Conference of Mayors recently passed a strong and unanimous resolution saying that we need to do everything we can to support our Afghan allies, and saying that every city in the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which is most cities in the country, are ready to step up and help. So if we want to recapture that spirit of unity that we remembered just a few days ago, this is our chance to do it. Let's stand together. Let's be what America is meant to be. Let's welcome every single one of these Afghan families. Let's do it together, proudly, for their benefit and for ours. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd also next like to welcome Pastor Thomas Burke. He is an Afghanistan veteran, and this morning is representing Iraqi and Afghan Veterans of America.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Thomas Burke. I am the Associate Minister of Children, Youth, and Families at Northfield Congregational Church, and I'm also an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. I served as an infantry Marine with 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines. I remember my time in the Helmand province making promises to the Afghan people who were fighting alongside us. And though that failing those promises created a moral injury within myself. Now, I couldn't be happier that Governor Lamont is taking the leadership to accept so many refugees from this Afghan war. Connecticut, our state motto is "They who transplant sustains." And I'm so encouraged at the opportunity that these refugees have to come to Connecticut, to learn, to grow, and to help our state become a stronger state. And I'm just so appreciative of everyone standing alongside me today and the hard work to again welcome these refugees and help them thrive here in the state of Connecticut. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pastor Burke. And next, let me introduce Bishop Andrew Smith. He is a retired bishop of the Episcopal Church of Connecticut. And this morning is representing one of our refugee resettlement agencies, IRIS, in New Haven. Bishop Smith.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. It's a joy and a pleasure to be here. First, to give thanks to our governor for his deep and clear and public support for welcoming and resettling Afghan refugees to become our new neighbors here in Connecticut. And thanks also to the agencies of the state and the staff who have been welcoming and effective at every step of the way in helping the families get oriented to living here in Connecticut. Also, great thank you to everybody who pitches in to make this resettlement possible. It's a huge task in front of us. And IRIS works through a system of community team co-sponsors because the agencies on their own with their staffs could not handle all the work that's involved in helping families who have left everything behind get a new start. So IRIS now has offices in New Haven and in Hartford. My own experience has been to serve recently on 2 resettlement teams here in the Hartford area, and I can tell you of the hard work and of the joy of meeting new neighbors and helping them get launched. IRIS provides the groups that gather together with training and support in the work that we're called to do. We need right now volunteers without question to form new community co-sponsor groups and of course donations, financial and otherwise. It's a joy to be part of this work, and thank you to all of you who are part also.
Thank you, Bishop Smith. And now representing SERI, another refugee resettlement agency, I'd like to introduce Susan Schnitzer, who's President and CEO of Connecticut Institute for Refugees and Immigrants.
Great. First, I have to thank our governor, thank you so much, and Commissioner Gifford, not only for pulling this fabulous group of hard workers and impactful people together to help our Afghan brothers and sisters that are coming, but for their years of commitment to ensuring that Connecticut is a welcoming space for refugees and immigrants. As the Commissioner said, I'm Susan Schnitzer with Connecticut Institute for Refugees and Immigrants, and we're helping folks resettle here in Connecticut for over 100 years. We work across the state, primarily out of Bridgeport, Stamford, and Hartford, and we are continuing our legacy of helping those in need and really rising to the occasion and being nimble and turning our services where they are needed most. And we're expecting as a state, as you all know, 310 of these Afghans, and we will serve about 110 of them. We're setting up apartments, we're looking for employment, helping kids get into schools, and we need your help doing all of that throughout all of your communities. We're looking for landlords that have safe and affordable housing. We're looking for tutors for our children and employers willing to hire our clients. We have a vast network of volunteers, and we're hoping that we can increase that network as we're welcoming these folks over the next few months. But we also need to point out that we are having people come now, but this crisis is ongoing, and we will be seeing and resettling refugees from Afghanistan over the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years. There are some that are now safe in third countries, and there are some that are still in Afghanistan. So we are ready and stand ready and prepared to meet the immediate crisis, but also to continue to work with not just our Afghan brothers and sisters, but all of those seeking refuge here in the U.S. and the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And next, I'd like to introduce Alex Plitzes. Alex is with Digital Dunkirk and has been assisting with the evacuation of the evacuees from Afghanistan and is an Afghan war veteran. Alex?
So good morning. The first thing I'd like to do is to thank the governor and his staff for assembling this bipartisan public-private task force with a noble mission of helping to resettle our Afghan allies who are on their way here to the United States. I'm also here with a number of Afghan veterans from both sides of the aisle politically, and I think as Mayor Bronin put it, this is not a political issue, this is a moral one, and we have a solemn obligation to stand by those who stood by us for the last 20 years. These are people who gave up their livelihoods. They chose to stand alongside of us and stand up to a Taliban regime that was oppressive to them and to women and killed many people. We have a unique opportunity to help resettle a group of people who share our values, who spent 20 years sacrificing alongside of us. And as my fellow veterans will tell you who are here, the majority of troops who served in country served honorably, but they were in support roles. They didn't leave the bases. And there were interpreters who were on the front lines with us the entire time that we were in country, acting as our eyes and ears, both culturally and linguistically. And I know personally, and speaking for myself and several others who are here, my life was saved on more than one occasion by an Afghan who chose to come out and help interpret for me when I was doing intelligence work, and the same thing in Iraq as well. So there is no more noble cause than this. I am asking the veterans community at writ large and all the people in this state to rally behind the governor and this task force that's been assembled that you see before you, and give them the support that they need. Many folks have been asking how they can help. We have two phenomenal organizations that are world-class that you just heard from their leadership from Siri and Iris. They're going to need support. This is phase 2 of a mission. Once people are out, they're going to need somewhere to go. And finally, I just want to address, I think, some of the unfortunate rumors that have circulated on the internet and social media. Everyone who's on their way over is being processed at U.S. military facilities, both abroad and the United States. They're going through full background checks, both with the intelligence community and law enforcement. These are people who are good. They served alongside of us. They pose no threat. They have earned their place here. They share our values, and we as Connecticut residents have a moral obligation to help take care of them. So again, thank you to all the members who are here today, to the governor, especially Mayor Bronin, who was the first person to step up in the state and say that he would help, along with his colleagues in Bridgeport and New Haven. So thank you, Governor.
And finally, it's my honor to introduce the leader of this effort for the state of Connecticut. As you've heard, Governor Lamont has assembled a public-private partnership to address the resettlement of these Afghan evacuees. And he has made it clear to us that that a warm Connecticut welcome is a high priority for his administration. And he has, as you see here, his state agencies as well as many of our community partners working hard to ensure that the welcome is smooth and safe and warm for these individuals who've been through so much. So please welcome Governor Ned Lamont.
All right, thank you, Deirdre, and good morning, everybody. I think like a lot of you, we were looking at those pictures on TV just a few weeks ago. The planes desperately trying to get out of Kabul airport. And our soldiers mercifully were getting out of there, and then you saw look in the eyes of a lot of the Afghanis, those running in the runways, those trying to get into the airport, and you knew this was something we had to step up to. And talking to Luke Bronin and then later talking to Alex, I was just reminded by both of you and then the other, that these were not just folks looking for a better life, which is important. These were also our allies. These were interpreters. These were folks we made a solemn pledge to. That if you're here on behalf of the United States, we're here on behalf of you. And we do have that obligation to those folks. I heard, Alex said it so eloquently, that these are the guys out there as interpreters saving his life in many cases. Fighting for what we hope was a better good. And I'm really proud of Connecticut and proud of the United States that we're stepping up and doing the right thing here. Early on, we reached out to Secretary Mayorkas over at Homeland Security. A few of the governors are on with him, emphasizing what is the process so we can plan accordingly so that we are ready. And as you heard, there's a thorough vetting process coming into Germany, coming into Qatar, coming into one of our military bases. It's they're doing everything they can to make sure we know who's coming in, what their background is, that they ought to be here. There are also questions about vaccinations. Everybody is thoroughly vaccinated, so we know people coming into the state are coming into this state and this country safely. And it's our job to welcome them, given where they're coming from, given the trauma that they have been through, to make sure that they get the old Connecticut welcome. And Deirdre, she's pretty busy on her last day at public health, but she'll be around. What we've got to do in terms of public health and make sure they get the best chance. We have housing here to make sure that we have good, stable housing, not just a roof on the head, but a place that you can make a fresh start for yourself and your family. We've got our workforce development to make sure that folks have a chance to reinvigorate what their skills are. A lot of them come very well skilled. We've got schools, and we've got to make sure that we have our schools are open so those kids of school age know that they're going to be welcome when they come into our schools. You know, Vanessa you heard from, and Beth Bai in terms of early childhood, doing everything we can. Some of these kids have been through hell and back on their way to the United States of America, but they're here now, and they're one of us, and we're in it together, and we love them because we're all God's children. And that's what today is all about. And I got to say to Siri and Iris, you've been doing this for many years, and I appreciate what that helping hand means and giving that Statue of Liberty a special meaning. And I want each and every one of you here watching, you know, SiriIrisCT.org. Go there, lend a helping hand. I don't know if it's a food basket. I don't know if it's a book bag. Maybe it's just a friendly ear to say we welcome you to the state of Connecticut. But help out Siri, help out Iris, just like they've been helping out generations of others who have come to this country before them. I'm really proud of Connecticut standing up, doing the right thing for each and every one of those folks. They were there for us. We're there for them. Thanks, everybody.
So we don't have exact dates yet, but we anticipate in the next few weeks, the first 310 will start arriving.
Say first 310, is there an expectation of eventually how many refugees being settled?
Can you,
You said the initial 310. Does that imply more eventually?
it's possible, the numbers aren't final yet.
Is there a time when those numbers, have you get any indication when there might be some final numbers available, or more firmer numbers?
Yeah, I'll invite Susan because she's in close touch with our federal partners.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So we are expecting. We're hoping next week we'll see the first arrivals, and then probably out another 2 or 3 weeks, we'll see more folks coming, a heavier flow. Sorry to use that word, but as we're moving forward. The 310 right now, as far as we know, are going to be folks that are here already and that have a status of humanitarian parole, which is going to give them, at least right now, 2 years in 2 years in this country. Things will be changing. They have been changing daily, weekly. So 310 we're looking at as folks that are going to be coming through our traditional refugee system. I know both Iris and Siri are going to be welcoming some folks that are coming up from the Army bases. And as Alex had said before, fully vetted, vaccinated. We're hearing with their work authorization cards, but that are going to be coming directly to our agencies. And I know both Siri and Iris are raising funds so we can help those folks who may not have access to federal funds.
And approximately, do you have an idea of the number of families? We know 310 individuals, but how many families?
You know, it really depends. We know about the average size of a family is 5, but it does depend on how many single and individuals are coming. So I would say, I mean, I'm doing math on the spot now, right? Maybe 60, 70 families. And we also know that there are some children who are coming by themselves or may have been separated in the process. And we are working with Office of Refugee Resettlement and their minors program, and I don't mean just Siri, across the country, to make sure those kids are getting reunited with family members as quickly as possible.
When you say these refugees who are here now,
Yes.
what does that mean? They've been here how long and where have they?
So they're not technically refugees, but they're the folks that have been brought here as evacuees as they fled
Part of that
Afghanistan.
group,
Yes, part of that group. There are, yeah, I don't want to get into the details of other, unless you want me to, other forms of refuge. But the folks we're talking about today are those evacuees who have fled the Taliban in Afghanistan.
These are folks who, within the last 2 weeks.
These 2 weeks, 3 weeks, yeah, yeah. These folks are coming with probably just the clothing on their backs. And as a lot of folks who come here have a tremendous amount of trauma, this is very fresh trauma. So we are also preparing with our agents, with IRIS and our partners to be able to address that trauma for the adults and the children.
And what's the initial step as far as housing? Are we talking about hotels, or do you already have some apartments lined up?
So both agencies have apartments and relationships lined up. We also both have some partnerships, and that's emerging because some really great folks and fellow nonprofit agencies have been reaching out to us. So if we do need a short-term housing, we would be able to utilize hotels, but there are some other short-term residents we can use.
How is the determination made as to how many, like Connecticut is getting 310, like who and how is the determination made of how many refugees we get?
The feds allocate, yeah, I just want to make sure they're aware. So the federal government allocates it. What we do, there are 9 national refugee resettlement parent companies, if you will. And IRIS and CIRI, we're each subsidiaries. So what we do, we tell them how many we can resettle, and then they make a determination and allocate to us. Yeah, you go right ahead.
I think it's important to just also remind people that there are already hundreds of Afghans in our state, in our communities, strengthening our communities right now. So while there's an extraordinary effort underway to welcome those who were evacuated and brought to safety over the last weeks, this is not something new for Connecticut. It's not something new for our resettlement agencies. It's not something new for our communities. This is what we do. And I think it's important for people to remember that as well. If I'm not mistaken, one of the team members at IRIS who's helping resettle Afghan families was himself an Afghan refugee who came, made Connecticut his home, and now is helping to resettle others into communities that are already established here.
We have a lot of state agencies involved here, DPH and DCF, DSS. Governor, do we have a cost estimate of what this will cost? This is not free. Obviously, there's a lot of people working on this. Either a cost estimate as far as the state and the broader effort, these agencies would be reimbursed, I assume, by the feds.
Yeah, we're working with FEMA. Like I said, we talked to Homeland Security. They've got a bill sitting in front of Congress now to see what type of additional support there will be for the states and the not-for-profits who have to, take the lead on this going forward. Right now, the state's going to be there helping to provide a bridge for these folks so they get going. And we do have a lot of, existing programs with capacity. That includes in terms of childcare, that includes, Kelly, what we got in workforce development, where hopefully we'll be able to get some of these refugees into those programs soon.
And you're going to be trying to get some federal reimbursement, if I heard you right there?
Yes.
Can you talk about what the greatest need is right now for folks that might be watching tonight? Is it clothing? Is it donation?
How did you take that?
So as one of my colleagues behind me just said, but it is the truth, donations, monetary donations. And I'll tell you why, because we have yet to have the first family come to us. So we are, it will be ongoing on what the needs may be. We still don't have anything definitive from the federal government. We have a fabulous state here, so there is no question that we are going to be able to secure resources. The second thing would be housing. And I can speak for Siri and maybe for a bit of IRIS, but I know we do need housing and individual apartments. There have been a lot of lovely humans, lovely families who have offered to host a family in their home, but given the myriad of circumstances, it is best if we could find apartments so families could live independently, start their lives together and their healing process as a family unit.
And again, the way that they get in contact with you?
To get in so we are, our website is www.CIRICT.org. And on that website, there is a link to our Afghan Relief Fund, and there's also forms to fill out if you'd like to volunteer. Because we do need volunteers. We'll need more as people start coming. And if you fill out your name there, then we'll start calling people as soon as it's ready. And I don't know for Iris, do you want to give their website?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
No,
That's
of
great.
course.
Great. For Iris, our immediate need right now is for housing. You've all heard about how difficult it is to find housing in Connecticut, and it really is true. Plus, there are federal guidelines for limits of rent, so that every community co-sponsorship team that works with Iris is also responsible for raising about $12,000 to $15,000 to supplement, so that not all of the expense that goes into the resettlement of these families comes from government sources. We are responsible for some of that also. We very definitely need volunteers from synagogues, from mosques, from churches, from community groups, often to band together across their typical tribal borders, if you will, to work together. An extraordinary experience when that happens. So that institutions, please, think about your role in becoming community co-sponsors. Finally, to contact IRIS, their website is irisct.org. Thanks.
A lot of guys answer questions.
How does this compare to other resettlement efforts, given that you're getting a bunch of people at once, as opposed to, say, Syrian refugees, where there's kind of a, I guess, a steady stream?
Right. So we have, both Siri and Iris have been ramping up over the past 6 months because, as we all know, refugee resettlement slowed down significantly with the past administration. So it's going, it's going to be challenging. As I said, we cannot do this alone. We never do it alone, but especially now we really need community support and, as the governor said, the public-private partnership. But our staff is ready to go. We're working extra hours. And we also, I want everyone to remember that both Siri and Iris are still receiving refugees from other countries who are also fleeing violence, war, and poverty. So we are relying, as always, more than usual, on volunteers, and have really been thrilled. And it's really outstanding, not just the government efforts, obviously here in Connecticut and private, but also our fellow nonprofit agencies calling, who are also working on very tight budgets and offering their help and support.
Any more on topic that we, anything else? What is this, the January 6th crowd wants to come back here? Great. I haven't gotten any feedback on that, but we'll pay attention. Thanks. Look, people have a right to protest, but you got to do it peacefully. You got to do it civilly. You got to do it within the law. That didn't happen on January 6th, but we're going to do it better here in Connecticut. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you so much.
Hopefully the other states are coming along.
Well, that's the thing. We are the exemplar for immigrants.
Some friends from